The Misadventures of a Hidden World Complete Lore Guide and World Breakdown. Storytelling Edition for Video Narration. Created by Chyil McGee. Additional creative alias, Jose Wopp. Introduction. Chicago was never supposed to become the center of the apocalypse. Not New York. Not Tokyo. Not some ancient kingdom buried beneath mountains. Chicago. A city full of trains, corner stores, broken homes, old basketball courts, snowstorms, abandoned churches, and people trying to survive another week. That's where the Shadow War began. And nobody, not the government, not the citizens, not even the demons themselves, understood how deep the roots of that war really went. Because this wasn't just a story about monsters. It was a story about inheritance, about rage, about betrayal, about what happens when power chooses broken people instead of heroes. This is the world of the Misadventures of a Hidden World. And at the center of everything is a boy named Wrath Van Ellis. The world before the story. Long before humanity built cities, before wars, before religion, before nations existed, reality was split into two layers. The human world and the Shadowland. The human world is physical reality. Streets, oceans, countries, families, time. The Shadowland is different. The Shadowland is built from emotion. Greed creates structures there. Fear feeds creatures there. Anger becomes energy. Loss becomes weather. The stronger an emotion becomes in the human world, the stronger the Shadowland grows. Most humans never see it, but sometimes the border weakens. Mass death, war, natural disasters, human cruelty. Those things tear holes between dimensions. And through those holes, demons crawl. Berserk, the first fallen ruler. At the top of the Shadowland sits Berserk. Not a saint, not a savior, not some generic evil king. Berserk is the original ruler of shadow energy. In ancient existence, he was once a higher being tied to balance and order, but obsession corrupted him. He became addicted to power, emotion, conquest, and evolution. Instead of protecting worlds, he wanted ownership over them. So he created the Shadow Hierarchy, an empire built on emotional control. Berserk learned something terrifying. Humans are easiest to manipulate when they suffer. So instead of destroying humanity completely, he let humanity destroy itself slowly. Wars fed him. Violence fed him. Corruption fed him. Every riot, bombing, murder, betrayal, and act of hatred strengthened the Shadowland. And over centuries, Berserk created 6 generals to govern his empire. The 6 generals. The 6 are not random demons. They are manifestations of core emotional concepts. Each one represents a psychological force powerful enough to influence humanity itself. The original 6. Knowledge represents information without morality. Cold logic. Observation. Curiosity without empathy. Knowledge studies humanity instead of understanding it. After Wrath destroys knowledge in Book 1, Bart takes his position permanently. Bart becomes the new knowledge. Wisdom represents calculated understanding. Unlike knowledge, wisdom knows how emotions work and manipulates them strategically. Wisdom believes battles are won before fists are thrown. Understanding represents adaptation and analysis. Understanding studies weaknesses mid-combat and evolves around opponents. This is why Wrath struggles against him early on. Love represents emotional manipulation, not romance, attachment, obsession, dependency. Love can twist feelings into weapons. Life represents survival instinct and biological control. Life understands fear of death better than anyone. Loyalty represents devotion through submission, absolute obedience. Loyalty believes identity should be sacrificed for purpose. Wrath Van Ellis. Wrath is not chosen because he's pure. He's chosen because he survives. Born in Chicago, Wrath grows up angry, violent, reckless, and emotionally unstable after the death of his father, Marcus Van Ellis. Officially, Marcus died in Iraq from an IED explosion. That was a lie. Marcus encountered Shadowland activity during the war. Before dying, Marcus mailed Wrath a black stone necklace. That necklace is not jewelry. It is an ancient shadow artifact capable of bonding with living hosts. For years, the stone remains dormant. Until March 12th, 2018. The night everything changes. The lightning incident. Wrath and Kenji Namora are fighting near a Chicago substation when multiple explosions rip through the area. Transformers collapse. Power lines burst. Reality weakens. The stone reacts. Lightning strikes Wrath directly. And for a moment, he dies. Not metaphorically. Actually dies. His heart stops. His nervous system collapses. The shadow energy inside the stone should have corrupted him completely, but the lightning changes the process. Instead of becoming another dark host, Wrath is reborn. The electricity purifies the shadow fusion. That is why Wrath's energy becomes different from Berserk's shadows later in the story. Not holy, not saintly, pure. Lightning becomes the force that rewrites his existence. His body comes back altered. His nervous system now processes shadow energy and electrical energy together. That's why black-violet lightning erupts when his emotions spike. He isn't a normal shadow user anymore. He's a resurrected hybrid. Wrath's power system. Wrath's powers are not random anime abilities. Every evolution connects to stress, adaptation, survival, and emotional pressure. Shadow manipulation. The base ability. Wrath controls living shadow matter connected to emotion and instinct. The shadows react faster than thought. They can form tendrils, create armor, generate blades, absorb impacts, sense danger, adapt during battle. The shadows are semi-sentient. They respond to Wrath emotionally. If Wrath panics, the shadows become unstable. If Wrath becomes focused, they sharpen. Black-violet lightning. This comes from death and rebirth. The lightning altered Wrath's biology permanently. Unlike ordinary electricity, this energy purifies corrupted shadow matter. It burns demons differently. It also symbolizes rebirth. Every time lightning appears around Wrath, it reflects his separation from ordinary darkness. The shadow suit. Unlocked through Marcus Van Ellis' artifact, the armor is adaptive. It responds to combat conditions automatically. It can harden against attacks, increase speed, regenerate minor damage, reshape mid-fight. The suit is not technology. It's living shadow matter fused with Wrath's nervous system. Ahaka, the Shadow Blade, forged from Marcus's necklace. The sword changes shape based on Wrath's intent. Sometimes it becomes heavy and brutal, other times thin and surgical. It evolves alongside Wrath emotionally. Katie Johnson. Katie begins as the emotional anchor of the group. Unlike Wrath, she thinks practically. Unlike Bart, she doesn't chase power. During the training arc, Katie develops energy perception abilities. She can sense emotional distortions and unstable shadow activity before others can. Later, her combat style evolves around support-based combat, movement reading, and energy disruption. She becomes essential because she sees problems before they explode. And in this world, that matters more than raw strength sometimes. The fall of knowledge. Bart begins as comic relief. Nervous, observant, smart, but Bart's downfall starts early. He watches too much, learns too much, studies too much. Knowledge notices him because Bart is obsessed with understanding everything. Unlike Wrath, Bart doesn't fight emotionally. He studies, analyzes, documents. That obsession becomes corruption. After Wrath kills the original knowledge, the role becomes empty. Bart fills it. Not temporarily. Forever. Bart becomes the new knowledge, and unlike Wrath, Bart chooses evil willingly. There is no redemption arc. No hidden goodness waiting underneath. Bart likes power, and during the training arc, Kenji teaches him how to use shadow intelligence offensively. Bart develops strategic combat techniques instead of brute force. He becomes terrifying because he plans. Kenji Namora. Kenji is Berserk's biological son. Not metaphorically, literally. He grows up hidden among humans. Disciplined, cold, competitive. He never becomes a hero. Ever. Even before learning the truth, Kenji naturally gravitates toward dominance and control. Once Berserk reveals himself, Kenji embraces his bloodline immediately. Unlike Bart, who falls slowly, Kenji accepts darkness instantly. During the training arc, Kenji trains Bart personally. The two become one of the deadliest duos in the story. Kenji masters precision shadow combat, high-speed movement, calculated brutality, anti-shadow techniques. He fights like a tactician. Wrath fights like a storm. That difference defines their rivalry. Hack Irish, Dax, and Silas. These characters expand the world beyond Chicago chaos. Irish, a sharp-tongued fighter with survival instincts stronger than most trained warriors. Irish specializes in adaptability and urban combat. He becomes important because he understands ordinary citizens better than Wrath does. Dax, a heavy-hitter personality, aggressive, loyal, blunt. Dax represents physical survival and frontline combat mentality. He brings grounded realism into supernatural situations. Silas, one of the most mysterious members introduced later. Quiet, analytical, emotionally distant. Silas studies the larger dimensional structure behind the Shadowland. He becomes crucial in understanding how reality itself is weakening. The training arc. After Book 2, the story slows down intentionally. Not filler. Preparation. Every major character trains differently. Wrath learns control. Katie learns perception. Iris sharpens survival instincts. Dax builds endurance. Silas researches dimensional fractures. Meanwhile, Kenji trains Bart in secret. This matters because the heroes think Bart disappeared. But behind the scenes, Bart becomes deadlier every chapter. He learns shadow prediction, emotional reading, energy disruption, battlefield manipulation. By the end of the training arc, Bart no longer fights emotionally at all. He fights mathematically. Aha! The murder mystery. One of the core subplots entering the next phase of the story is a murder investigation tied directly into the main conflict. Not random filler. A major character dies under impossible circumstances. No witnesses. No clear attack. No demon traces. This changes the story completely because it proves something horrifying. Not every threat comes from monsters anymore. Some threats are human. The investigation forces the cast to distrust each other while the larger war continues around them. And because Bart operates in the background strategically, nobody knows if the killer is human, shadow, or something worse. The tone of the series. The story balances multiple styles intentionally. Dragon Ball Z, Frieza arc, large-scale destruction, escalating transformations, emotional battles, psychological pressure, the art of war, strategic philosophy. Every battle has purpose. Every action creates consequences. Winning mentally matters more than brute force. Regular show, Adventure Time. Absurd comedy inside dangerous situations. Characters joke because reality is terrifying. Humor becomes survival. Cat in the Hat energy. Chaotic dialogue. Strange pacing shifts. Weird emotional timing. The world feels unpredictable because life is unpredictable. Hashtag the core themes. The story is not about heroes saving the world. It's about damaged people inheriting impossible responsibilities. Main themes include inheritance, corruption, grief, emotional survival, identity, loyalty versus individuality, rebirth, consequence. Every power in the story reflects psychology. Nobody becomes stronger randomly. Growth costs something. Always. The future of the series. The Shadow War is only beginning. Chicago was the ignition point, but the infection spreads globally. Japan becomes critical later because ancient dimensional fractures exist beneath the country connected to older Shadowland conflicts. That journey begins at the end of the training arc, not through portals, not magically. By boat. Slow, quiet, tense. A transition between one era and another. Book 3 begins after arrival, and by then, the characters are no longer kids pretending to survive. They've become weapons. Final author credits. Created by Chyil McGee. Creative alias Jose Wopp. Series The Misadventures of a Hidden World. Genre dark fantasy supernatural, action psychological adventures, urban manga. Core inspirations: Dragon Ball Z, Adventure Time, Regular Show, The Art of War, Bleach, Yu Yu Hakusho, street-level Chicago culture, psychological warfare storytelling. And this is only the beginning.